All right, what's up, traders? Welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, January the 13th. We're going to do some Bitcoin trading. We're going to look at some things. There's not a lot going on as far as setups go. I like Bitcoin to the upside with this current structure on the near term. So here's the thing. The sellers had it Friday. We were looking for longs Friday. Then the sellers knocked it right back down. They knocked it down on a day that the volatility index for the S&P 500 dropped significantly. So I was kind of anticipating that we would see a little bit of a bullish move over the weekend. Excuse me. And then we got the weekend news of the Fed chair Powell dropping the bomb that Mr. Trump is literally trying to go after him for criminal charges. Obviously, Trump is trying to pressure him into dropping interest rates faster because obviously the government has to pay a lot more money to debt. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Bitcoin is slowly struggling to break out. Whether it's if you're a bear, you have been extremely upset for a little over a month now. And if you are a bull, you have been extremely upset. So basically, we're seeing this upsetness across the whole market as a whole. It's not just us near-term traders, it's also investors and everything. I don't know if you guys know this, but yesterday I was just checking out the YouTube sphere and I watched a very, very uncomfortable podcast with Michael Saylor and what Bitcoin did or whatever. We'll take a look at that. I mean, it was uncomfortable for me. Yeah, he essentially crashed out. We'll take a look at that and a little bit of other things. But yeah, I don't like buying Bitcoin up here. First and foremost, this white line up here is yesterday's high. You can see that the deltas are structured a little bit more bullish here on the very near term. As price pulls back away from yesterday's high, you got a little bit of a double top going on up here on the daily high. We are anticipating a breakout, but time will tell. This is obviously going to be your day open. This is also 4-hour support. So if Bitcoin were to trade down into here around 91,188 at the open, which is going to be in 30 minutes, then I would potentially be a buyer as long as price doesn't just blast through that area. If price blasts through that area, then we could potentially see this be the beginning of a down week, and we'll find out. We'll find out today, hence the thumbnail. So make sure you stick around for that. We are looking to put positions on today. Yesterday, we kind of got chopped around a little bit on Fartcoin. Didn't see anything I loved yesterday, so this week has been kind of slow. And I am more than okay with going into the week neutral. I don't mind that at all. I would much rather do that than go into the week red. I did take 3 stops yesterday on Fartcoin, so I did hit max loss limit on the day. So hopefully today pans out a little bit better. I did take an original long this morning when we opened the fresh 4-hour candle. Let's go out to the higher time frame so I can explain my madness. Yeah, I was watching price pull back here into the open of this 4-hour candle, but this happened at around like early. So right here at 6 a.m., this is your pullback candle. This is your current 4-hour candle open. So basically I let this push down into intraday support and I put a long on here because I honestly thought we were going to break out before the open. You can see we did get that move up, but then got rejected. And here we are right now getting ready to stop out that first long opportunity. So we'll see what happens here. If it drops, we're okay with it dropping down as low as this area. Now that's the main goal and the main target going into the 9:30 session. It's a pretty far drop from where near-term price is. As you can see, it took many hours to get up here. So if Bitcoin does decide to take this drop right now, I don't think it, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens here. But as long as Bitcoin stays trading up on this, I think it makes the run higher. So got 57 minutes. This is a brand new hourly candle. It literally just opened 3 minutes ago. So it makes sense that it is putting in this little bit of a move right here, right now. But is it able to continue? That's the thing here. If it doesn't, then I'm more than okay with initiating long positions here, because I am in a short. We shorted up here at December's high. So on the long term, this thing is building in a bottoming pattern, a descent or an ascending triangle. These do have bullish breakout potential. I really like the fact that we are up here. But if we look at this, right here is going to be weekly res. So as long as we're trading above last week's open, I like the bullish move. If we get under last week's close, then I would be more keen to look for the downside target for last week's low. So that's basically what we're going to be working with here. And you can see how the daily open is pretty much right in there. So if we're going to see an up week, an expansion to the upside this week, I want to be positioned for that, because the fact that this thing hasn't rolled over yet makes the short up here not the best positioning. It's the only positioning you could have gotten if you were not short up here, right? If you missed that move, then this was the only opportunity. But anyways, before the bell opens, let's go ahead and discuss that Michael Saylor crash out a little bit. Hopefully everybody's having a good morning. Hopefully everything's good on your end and all that stuff.
The market can sustain this many treasury companies, because we see, especially the smaller ones, almost all of them are now trading at like a significant discount to their
I think you're just missing.
Okay, so basically the question is simple. It's, do you think the Bitcoin treasury companies caused the bear market? And that went through Michael Saylor.
The point. You're like the Bitcoin community tends to eat its young. Like they would rather criticize a company that buys Bitcoin than criticize a company that doesn't buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you focus upon criticizing the money-losing companies that don't own Bitcoin? Why would you buy them?
Why
aren't you criticizing them?
No, I agree with that. But it's not that I'm criticizing them. It's just that the shareholders in some of these other treasury companies are getting absolutely crushed. And like, is there any way that some of these companies ever get back to like a 1xm NAV?
Yeah, I just don't accept the criticism. You made an investment in a company. Why did you invest in the company, right? My problem with the premise is you somehow think that it's okay for 400 million companies to not buy Bitcoin, and you like that. And you're going to criticize the companies, the 200 companies that bought Bitcoin. And that's the thing, that's your brilliance?
The thing that
How is it brilliant for you to ignore the fact that 400 million companies didn't buy Bitcoin, and somehow
Don't you cut me off. Okay, so props to this guy. I mean, obviously he's got a huge Bitcoin channel, and to be able to get Michael Saylor to sit down across from you like that is a huge honor, I'm sure, and fantastic. As far as his interviewing skills go, he could have potentially reined in this, maybe backstepped a little bit once he saw Michael Saylor was going on tilt. The reason I'm saying this is because this went on for over an hour, and they did not, for like almost an hour, get off of this topic. The guy, the interviewer, could not rein the interview back in. And I can understand he was probably nervous and all that. I mean, it's Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor, that guy right there in the black jackets, company owns literally like, what, $50 billion worth of Bitcoin. So, yeah, cool stuff. But anyways, Michael Saylor definitely not accepting the premise that the treasury companies caused the bear market. And I tend to agree with that premise, and here's why. For at least in my case, right, this is only going to be my opinion. It was very uncomfortable watch, to say the least. Even my girl, who is not a Bitcoiner, not a trader, could see just how brutal that was. I don't buy that the Bitcoin treasury companies did cause the breakdown. I honestly believe it was the black swan event when Trump announced the tariffs that made that crazy tariff chart public. Then he announced a 100% tariff on all Chinese imports. Everything got hit. It wasn't only Bitcoin that suffered. It was the risk market. It was risk market wide, right? The black swan event destroyed everything. It was the biggest liquidation in history that wiped out over-leveraged longs in a time when open interest was at its highest place ever. The event was so brutal, It is literally often referred to as 1011. If you were born before September 11th, 2001, you will get the reference. When you take out that much open interest in the derivatives market, spot prices are sure to follow. We can see it clearly. This was the day that it happened. This is the day in question. Or some numbers have it around 19 billion and others have it in above 20 billion dollars was liquidated in a 24-hour period. It was like the biggest ever. The second biggest ever was during the pandemic of 2020, and it doesn't even come close to what happened there. Once this happened, Bitcoin spent literally 21 days absorbing that liquidation. 21 days absorbing that liquidation. And what could have potentially been looked at as an accumulation ended up becoming a distribution. On this day alone, I saw many tweets on Twitter posting massive losses. Accounts that went to bed the day before with 24, 25, $30 million woke up the next day at 000. Like, you annihilated everybody. So that is what sparked and then caused the Bitcoin bear market. If you also look at long-term holders, they literally started selling in July. So in July, that event took place in October the 10th and 11th, a 24-hour period. So you can see here that the long-term hodlers were selling while Bitcoin was in what looked like a consolidation. So myself included, with the macro picture the way it was back then, tariffs were the only thing that was threatening an upside break on Bitcoin and risk markets alike. There was no high inflation. We see high inflation at the grocery store, but if you look at the CPI, it's under 3. It's lower. Back in 2022, the bear market happened because of skyrocketing inflation, but everybody was talking about the 4-year cycle. It was a part of the reason why we were looking for shorts in that time. So me, as a trader, wasn't necessarily looking for a brutal market sell-off because the macro did not support that narrative. Even when we made those lows in April, it didn't feel like we should have made that big of a move down. But it doesn't matter what we think or what we feel, right? Price is the arbiter of success in this business. If you buy it, you obviously want it to go up. If you sell it, you want it to go down. So yeah, it was clearly, it was just like everything worked out absolutely perfect for Bitcoin to liquidate the largest amount of open interest in Bitcoin's entire history. And then after that, once it chewed up all of that liquidity here, it went into this cascading event that just caused mass fear and panic. You top that with the fact that every large influencer on all social media platforms were talking about the 4-year market cycle and all of this other stuff, all of the FUD, right? All of the FUD. You're going to see a self-fulfilling feeding frenzy like what we saw. Now, my question is simple. Obviously, if you get a big move like that, it could take a month, maybe even 2 to digest. So we might not be done with this move. Obviously, Bitcoin is bearish down here. The pattern, the structure, everything about it says it's weak. The fact that the crypto market has been on the fear and greed index under fear for since October, it does seem like there is a larger downside potential move coming. And that is causing investors, or at least retail investors, to be afraid. And as long as retail investors are afraid, the potential breakdown is a possibility. So you should be prepared for that if you are trying to participate in Bitcoin. I think, like Michael Saylor says in that video, you should have a large time frame when you're talking about investing in Bitcoin. You can't be looking to get into Bitcoin and expecting 100x or 1000x returns instantly. It's not going to happen. In fact, we have charts that show us that the volatility of Bitcoin has been steadily decreasing over time. This is very, very positive for the asset class. We want the volatility to subside. We want it to be almost nothing, as that is typically more bullish than bearish. When you have huge volatility like that, that of course is going to cause massive panic and massive fear. And nothing, literally nothing anybody can say, can cause anybody to believe that this is going to bounce. So with that, you literally see Bitcoin struggling to make fresh highs. This is December's high. I honestly felt with this much volatility as we traded down into weekly support, that weekly support is the first sell-off that we got in 2025 based on panic selling because of the tariffs, right? That's when we put in this weekly support back here in April or March, and then we set the April low, and that's when Bitcoin went right back up in all-time highs. Basically, that is where Bitcoin traded to when we dropped this time. So I fully believe it was the Chinese, the 100% tariff on all Chinese imports that caused the Black Swan event. So much pent up leverage in the system. Bitcoin reacts very negatively when you liquidate that much leverage. This move ultimately destroyed over 35% of all of Bitcoin's open interest. So it definitely makes sense that we saw an over 30% decline on spot prices. But that's neither here nor there. That's what has already happened. We're trying to anticipate and get in front of what is potentially about to happen. So clearly we're holding shorts, but that's only to protect our long-term positioning on cold storage, right? I am a strong proponent that if you want to invest in Bitcoin, or if you want to, take part in Bitcoin's volatility, the best thing to do is to buy Bitcoin and then get it into cold storage. Not a Bitcoin treasury company, not MicroStrategy, not iBit, not any options on Bitcoin. You go on exchange, you buy your Bitcoins, you pull them off exchange. That is how you should participate in Bitcoin. If you want to participate in Bitcoin, that is the best way, because you're not buying anything else. You are buying Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is what everybody likes. All those other things, they just track Bitcoin's volatility. Though with that being said, what we did do, we reclaimed the monthly VWAP, which is good. You also failed to close dailies or consistent dailies below the December open. This is also good. Reclaiming this is really good. Your daily 21 exponential moving average has also been acting as potentially support. I put a video out over the weekend describing what I was looking for this week. I wanted to be a buyer down around last week's low, and I still potentially will be a buyer down there if Bitcoin refuses to trade lower than that price. So basically, if we break down today and start another downside weekly expansion, when we get down to last week's low, that will be the opportunity, if there is an opportunity. If you are looking for shorts today, then clearly the best price to watch for those shorts would be at yesterday's high. Because if Bitcoin is trading above yesterday's high, the potential, or where price is going next, the most likely price is going to be 94,640, which is the objective December high price. Now, January's high is higher, but still, that is resistance. This is the price that is keeping Bitcoin down. So the fact that it rejected it on the first attempt makes complete, total sense to me. This is a nice bullish rally straight up there and liquidated that swing high, which is good and constructive. What we did not want to see was a big breakdown under that 21 exponential with downside continuation. That's what we did not want to see as bulls. So as of right now, this still looks very good and very constructive for now. Now, obviously, the moving average is on the daily time frame. If you go out, to your 50, 100, 200, they're all above price. Price still looks extremely bearish down here, and you're still trading and closing weekly candles under the weekly 21 exponential, which is that's where we need Bitcoin to get to in order to be able to say, okay, now maybe we've reclaimed something very important here. Now we could potentially see more upside. If we get up in here, I honestly don't think we'll see that secondary bearish leg that everybody's putting on Twitter, those fractals from 2022. In order for Bitcoin's price to react the same way it did back then, you would almost need the same macro conditions that you had back then. Skyrocketing inflation, high unemployment, something, right? Something to justify that much selling. We're not seeing that yet. That could happen above December's high. Only time will tell. But while we're trading in this range here, as long as we're trading above last week's close, then I have more of a near-term bullish bias on Bitcoin. So if we go back out to the hourly chart, you'll see here that support is holding. All right. We're getting closer to the open too. The fact that you couldn't break down through here is big. It is big. Bitcoin doesn't need to come back down here and retest this. It could literally leave from here. It's already been trading here for many hours. This looks like accumulation. It looks like it's going to go. A longer term ascending wedge, or like this long-term pattern, it just shows that you're making higher lows. So the bears from up here, they are nervous every day Bitcoin closes higher, right? That's going to force them to close their short positions if Bitcoin gets back up into here. So that's how you start to see these higher lows build in. You've had Michael Saylor touring the entire world for the last 6 months trying to get large investors on board because he understands the same thing. Worldwide adoption would be hugely important for Bitcoin, and the bigger banks and investors participate in it, the more normal people will come participate in it. But it is extremely volatile and risky. Higher lows are a good sign. And for the month of January, you have already made higher highs. So if this ends up becoming another higher low, then if that trend continues into the future, we would anticipate higher highs, not lower high or lower lows, right? Higher highs, higher lows, up she goes. Lower highs, lower lows, and yeah, bad stuff. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's all we can do as traders. We can only anticipate what we think is going to happen and base positions around that diagnosis. But anyways, we'll see what Bitcoin does here. As far as other assets we're watching, ETH, let's go look at the ETH BTC chart here as it's doing its own little thing. It's like forming a triangle pattern here. It's got a lot of work to do before this pattern is over 70% completed, but a lot of people are going to be watching what happens here. You do have sort of a rounding bottom taking place here. So if ETH BTC were to break out to the upside, I don't know how that would affect Bitcoin, but obviously it would be really good for Ethereum. But I'm mostly focused on Bitcoin myself. I own Bitcoin. I am a hodler and a trader, but here lately, we've been focusing a lot of those trades on alts because they move more. They have more volatility. They have more of a percentage move on the day. Fartcoin had a breakdown. It could not break down. This is where if Fartcoin gets above, Fartcoin is probably going higher. Here's your daily 21 average down here. Yesterday, we were looking for shorts right here. That trade did ultimately play out, but it didn't give any downside continuation. I did ultimately get stopped out, so I did not participate in that downside move. But yesterday, I would have wanted to see this break down. And if not yesterday, then today. So far, what we don't have is Fartcoin breaking down. It is doing the opposite. So basically what I mean is I would have been looking for shorts today on Fartcoin if it would have been trading down here. I don't necessarily love the idea of shorting it up here, but if you do, where would you be looking for that short? Last week's open would be a good place to position that risk. You do not want to put on shorts here if Fartcoin is trading above it. Because if Fartcoin is trading above that, it's probably going back up here to Friday's high. So you got the breakdown here. I think this is a bear trap. I thought it was all weekend. I still feel that way. That's why I was not loving that short trade yesterday. I only took it because the technical setup was there, but I did not love it. I honestly think that while everybody is afraid to buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin is going to take off. It just feels like that would be what happens. Go right back to all-time highs, break out above that, and leave everybody sitting in the dirt waiting back at $79,000. And they'll be left behind if that happens. We don't know how many banks. Michael Saylor said publicly that 8 out of 10 big banks, the world's largest banks, are going to participate. So that's huge. They have to build a position over time. And building a position over time, where's going to be, when are they going to want to build that position? They're going to want to build that position down around lows. They're not going to want to build that position up on highs. So this, all of December and the very beginning of January have been really good opportunities for large scale investors to get involved. We're not seeing long-term hodlers or that metric spike really, but it is doing better. It is doing better. So as long as it's making higher highs and higher lows, I want to be looking for those pullback entries at support. All right, we're getting ready to see the bell here in 5 minutes. Let me take a look over here, make sure there's not any pertinent or important questions. ZCL to the moon. I'm not sure what ZCL is. I'm still holding shorts on Zcash. It is looking like it's trying to break out here. If we go look at this on the larger time frames, you can see you are building in higher lows for the last 3 days. So it does look like it's wanting to break out. It maybe wants to go back up and retest the 21 exponential moving average, which will move into place here. Now, the Zcash blockchain itself is not gone, just the developers. And I'm sure the parent company or whatever the company is that caused all of the Zcash people to leave, whoever they are, I'm sure they're going to hire new developers to update the blockchain or the code. But that probably will have a longer downside push on Zcash. We'll quit shorting it if it starts to close dailies back above the 21 exponential. But I love everything about the momentum structure here. I love everything about the daily structure. I'm looking for shorts. I'm holding a short. I added to that short yesterday. So if it gets up into here, it's going to stop that trade out. Let's see here. It actually needs to get up to like 459 to stop that trade out. So I don't anticipate that's going to happen today, but we'll find out. This was a breakdown, a decent breakdown at also. We're still above the 50 on the weekly time frame, so you haven't gotten that full-on weekly bearish look yet. And 3 days like this, this is clearly the breakout point. So basically, if it's trading above December's open, I would not be so quick to jump on that short. What I would be looking for instead is a retest of the daily 50 on the RSI. That would give you a breakout potentially back to or above the 21. If that happens, let it close that day out and then wait to see what happens the next day. If you get upside continuation, that just simply means if you're trading above that day's high, you do not put the short on. If you liquidate that day's high and then reverse, you do put that short on. That will be the best short position on Zcash if you're looking for short positions on Zcash. And XMR is definitely benefiting from this Zcash sell-off. This thing broke out. It is literally taking off. This is last week. Today is Tuesday. That literally means yesterday was the weekly open on this thing. And it's all the way up there. We completely missed out on that opportunity Sunday when we did the channel members only live stream. On Sunday morning, we were looking at this and I literally made the call to not buy it because we were way too overbought here. So I told my members to chill, let it pull back a little bit. And in hindsight, that was terrible advice. There's no way we can ever anticipate something like that happening. We did think that the breakout was coming. We were looking for this down here. We didn't get it. It just took off, broke out. This was the all-time high right here. So once you took that out, it was just see you later. If I can't buy it down here because it's too overbought, there's no way I'm buying it up here. So literally missed out on a phenomenal rally. Phenomenal rally. We could have attacked it in many places I see here, but let's just go to the low that we were looking at on Sunday. Yeah, that's a 35% rip. That would have been nice to put on, well, to put into the P&L, but we missed out on that. So yeah, we'll see what happens here with Zcash. If it rejects, I like it lower. Breaks out above December, leave it alone. All right, so it's 9:30. So let's go see what Bitcoin is doing here. Right back up to the highs, like I kind of figured. We'll see what it does. I honestly have less confidence in the December high short. I really thought it would have broke down yesterday. If not yesterday, then today. If it doesn't break down today, it's not going to, most likely. That's why I put the thumbnail. We're going to F around and find out today if it's going to go lower or if it's going to go higher, because I just feel like today's the day. So we're either going to know lower or upper. And right now it looks like upper. There she goes. Good morning, afternoon. So you saying the top is in? Absolutely not, dude. No way the top is in. Not happening. For Bitcoin? No. Bitcoin will make all-time highs again. I don't know when, but it will. Just a matter of time. That's it. There are more banks, more people getting involved. If only 200 million people own Bitcoin, imagine what happens to Bitcoin if 2 billion people own it. That's why it's hard to look at Bitcoin trading at $92,000 and saying to oneself, an asset that literally does not exist is worth $92,000. I get it, right? I get it. but it's a technology that, not a technology, it's actually a protocol that people just don't understand. The more the world goes into debt, the more upset people get, the more people that say, I don't trust my government or any other government for that matter, they start buying Bitcoin. Once that starts happening worldwide, you're looking at an adoption curve that could literally go to the moon. I think right now the problem with Bitcoin is going to be transactions and potentially the core devs, right? Those are the major issues as far as I can see for Bitcoin. As far as what Bitcoin is and what it could be, well, that's insanely, like I can't even put a value on it. In fact, I seen an article or a headline just this morning of someone attaching an insane figure to Bitcoin potential, like double-digit millions. Like high double digits, damn near 3 digits. That's insane. You don't need to own a lot of Bitcoin to participate in what most Bitcoin maxis think Bitcoin can do. I'm not a full-on Bitcoin maxi. I just realized the potential, so I'm invested. But I also realize the risks, and I'm fully capable of taking those losses. But I definitely want to keep buying it. I don't want to be a seller unless I'm protecting or trying to add to the Bitcoin HODL wallet. All right, ZCL new here says Steve Moody 2943. Do you trade for a living? I do, sir. I do, sir, and have for a long time. Yep. We do live streams every Tuesday and Thursday morning for the public. I do live streams every day, but it's for the donos and stuff like that, the Discord. But yeah, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday morning public, and we do take live trades with real funds. I use Weeks, the exchange Weeks, to trade a small portfolio of real money. My goal here is to teach people how to trade responsibly and effectively and realize gains over time, not to teach people how to YOLO and make and lose millions, right? You will make millions if you become good at this over time. But trading for a living can be, I mean, it is great. There's no doubt about it. I don't have any bosses. I do what I want when I want. But it can be stressful at times too, because there's not always good trades to take. So we have to be patient. Yeah, it looks like it's going for at least a fresh daily high. This is yesterday's high. I'm not marking out today's high because today's high doesn't matter, right? It's yesterday's. You can't have upside continuation if you're not trading above yesterday's high. So that's what's important here, right? So we don't necessarily need to mark out today's high here. If it's going to roll over, it's going to do so soon. If it isn't, it's going to be a fantastic day. Now, the VIX had a gap up yesterday and it made fresh highs, and that's what threw us off yesterday. So let me go up here and show you what I'm talking about. Focus on the chart to the top left of your screen. So these are daily candles on the VIX. The VIX is the volatility index. Bitcoin is right here. So if you're looking at Bitcoin, you can still see it. Down here is Ethereum, and there's your silver chart there. But when the VIX gapped up yesterday above last week's high, we honestly thought there was a big down day coming, right? We looked and we thought that we were going to see downside continuation yesterday, but it didn't. So this big gap up and new week high was literally just a fake out. And it put a lot of people on the wrong side yesterday. Bitcoin didn't really do a whole lot yesterday. You can see it did have a breakout move, but it came back in. These aren't even daily candles, but yesterday here, this is Sunday's high, so you got Monday's high in there as well. So we were able to get up into there, but it just couldn't do anything. Right, just couldn't do anything. So we want to see that continuation now that the VIX has dropped back under that previous week high. Oops, sorry, wrong chart. Here's the Bitcoin daily. Let's get the VIX on the weekly real quick. So we have a bullish bias on the VIX as long as the VIX is trading under its previous week high. And that makes us bullish. But when you get above the previous week's high on the volatility index, you have to be very cautious about looking for new bullish positions, because you could be getting ready to see a nasty down day. So this threw us for a massive loop, because last week we had one day that basically, this is your entire weekly range that happened on Friday of last week, right here. Boom. So you closed under last week's close. There's your prior weekly close right there. So that made us bullish going into the weekend. So then I wake up, I come to the monitor, which, is in my house. I come to my trading office and I look on the VIX, and not only did the VIX not roll over with downside continuation, it gapped up above the prior week's high. So that made us very cautious yesterday. It made it very difficult to take long positions yesterday. But yesterday was the day we should have been taking long positions, because yesterday you were trading at the daily 21 EMA. So that would have been a better long entry at daily support. Daily support is going to be your lowest daily close. Here, let me pull it up over here just so you can focus on that. Going back out to Bitcoin, the way we analyze price is objectively. So we don't try to anticipate what we think might be support and resistance. We let objective price levels dictate support and resistance. So with that being said, Monday, when it traded down into this day support, that close, you could have been a buyer. Should have been a buyer. But the problem, like I said earlier, was that the VIX gapped up above last week's high. So we were actually anticipating a breakdown yesterday, and that did not happen. So clearly, that's why you're seeing this move now to the upside. That was a trap. That was to make everybody scared to get long, and it worked, because here you are today trading well above yesterday's high. It's the continuation that we need to see for the upside moves, right? And that's what we've not been getting as of lately, until we went in. When we came into January, that's when we got a really nice positive move on Bitcoin. It was the first few days of January. You had an 8% rally, which was beautiful, all the way up to December's high, and then rolled over. So we wanted to see that 21 exponential retest be a higher low support, and so far, that is what has happened. It spent trading at the 21 for 5 days. 5 days. You spent a lot of time here building on the RSI, that bullish look. Very long time. So as long as you're above, my viewers know that if the daily candles are closing above the 50 on the RSI, we have a bullish bias, because that's what essentially identifies who's in control of price, or at least who has that momentum. So it would have been hard pressed to get me to be a buyer up on these wicks any of these 3 days. To be a buyer there, no. I would have been anticipating a rejection. And it was clean, and boom. So once we broke out here like we did early January, this is the January opening range right here. This is your yearly opening candle. That's your yearly low. The fact that you had 5 days of expansion and upside expansion, 8%, liquidated last month's high, This pullback needed to stay a higher low, and it did. So this is the clear resistance that everybody's going to be watching, because this is where everybody's short. It's where we're short. It's where everybody is short. This is where if you start breaking out above this and closing days above it, the upside is anybody's guess. The sky is literally the limit in this scenario. Now, we will have objective prices to watch. The very first one will be the midpoint of the November breakdown, because November is the candle that broke down. So we will be watching the midpoint of that. And the best way to do that would be to just fib that range. And right here's the midpoint. So what does Bitcoin do when it gets here? Does it weaken or does it firm up? If it firms up, then I wouldn't even probably have a short side bias anymore, because of the macro. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but last Friday we got a non-farm payrolls of number, and it was 0.2 lower. That you need skyrocketing unemployment to cause a recession. And Bitcoin is it's an asset that grows over time. It makes higher lows and higher highs. That's what it does. You need macro conditions to be bearish to see a real heavy downside move, right? And I don't think that we have those conditions. Not yet. We may see them late 2026, Q3 2026, but as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And we're going to have a much more dovish Fed member come May. TLT, what is it doing? It's still struggling to break out here. The sellers have this still crunched down here. You're still trading as an inside week. Well, last week wasn't a full-on inside week, as you did take out the prior week's low, but this week you are trading as an inside candle. So the breakout point is clear. It's got to get up above this. If it does do that, then I would look for the TLT to start moving to the upside. But if it breaks down, it won't look good. And that will have the market on the opposite side of the Fed. So that's kind of what the macro analysts are looking at right now. They want to see the long-term yield curve get more in line with the near-term yield curve. That's what seems to be affecting macro conditions. And higher unemployment is anticipated because of AI. So I'm not saying that there isn't anything out there saying that Bitcoin's going lower. I'm just saying there's not a lot that says it is. On a macro level, other than the 4-year market cycle, and obviously those Bitcoin treasury companies could absolutely cause heavier selling pressure if they do, or if they are forced to sell all the Bitcoin they accumulated. But here's the thing, you're never going to know if there's more buying going on or more selling. The futures market will tell us. Every 8 hours, you get a funding rate. And if the funding rate is paying the sellers, then that means there's more demand at these prices, or there's more buying happening. So they pay the sellers to take short positions to get those positions more in line. And I've been short since this day, and we've been paid the entire time to hold the short. It isn't a lot because the short is a very small position, but what I'm saying is, since Bitcoin has been trading here at $93,900, the demand has been heavier than the supply, because the sellers have been getting paid the funding rates. When that switches around, when the buyers are getting paid the funding rate, then you'll know there's more selling taking place than buying. That still does not dictate price direction, but we know there's demand for Bitcoin at these prices. We know that for a fact. We just don't know if there's enough to propel it higher. It's looking pretty damn good today. Looking pretty good today, but it's the continuation that we need to see, not just these wicks. These wicks, don't like them. We want to see continuation. Hopefully that answers your questions. I'm an OM long, looking for continuation to spot 10 at least. Let's pull up OM, I guess, real quick. Not sure what that is. Is it a crypto mantra? Let's see. You're at spot 10. You're long at spot 10, which is here. It's building in a rounding bottom. I will give you that. It looks constructive. It definitely looks constructive. Obviously, it suffered back in October the same fate that a lot of crypto assets did, which was an 80% down move. We were short on Pingu that day, so we got lucky that we were on the right side of that dramatic decline. But it is building in a longer term rounding bottom here. I definitely would love to see that continue, right? So what I would basically do, you need it to break out above December's high. You're basically looking or anticipating the exact same thing that everybody's waiting for on Bitcoin, to get above that December high. And once that happens, I honestly think that you could be back to break even in no time. But is that going to happen? That's the question. Same constructive pattern here from the beginning of the year, as this is January. So that is the year open. We're in a new year. So basically what happened last year does not anymore. It does no longer matter, right? No longer matters. What matters this year is what do we do? So looks very constructive. It's a higher low. You're struggling right now at yesterday's high. So this is where you need OM to break out above. OM for me could still be a short here, right? As long as it fails to go above that. I don't love the short setup because for January, it's an expansion to the upside month. That could change. So you got the breakdown here. That's your support break. You should have seen downside continuation today. So the sellers would have been looking to put that short on right about 775. So the fact that you're trading up here could suggest that a breakout is coming. December's high, 855 is the price you need it to break out above. And if that could happen, I think you could get back to break even. If you start to take this low out and continue lower, I would be very concerned. Yeah, I'd be very concerned. You're already underwater down here significantly. Already underwater significantly. Hopefully it does build in a longer term support. It's very early in January still, so anything could happen. Okay, so Bitcoin's dropping back under yesterday's high. This is right here what's going to matter, what it does from here. BIX bounced off the 2026 yearly opening range. So another concerning look. Gapped up yesterday, got sold off, retesting support. We definitely want to see the VIX get back under this. You can see how the S&P is handling that right now. Same thing, fresh all-time high, rejection, but it's early in the session. I still like the upside move better than the downside move for now. Fartcoin still struggling to get above yesterday's high. So that's where the sellers are going to be on Fartcoin. That's where they've been since Friday. I shorted it there on Saturday. Actually, it was not there. I lied. It was here. I took the short side set here on Saturday looking for the downside break. Continuation. Took profits on the move lower. It didn't get down to my profit target, but I took profits a little too early was the problem. So I just mismanaged the position. And then literally, here we are on Tuesday. It's gone nowhere. So it feels to me like the breakout is coming. If the sellers were truly involved, or if the sellers were going to get that move, it just feels like they would have yesterday. But we're in price discovery. So we know that this is fair market value right now. And the same can be said for Bitcoin. This is fair market value. Anytime price compresses, that is literally fair market value. It's a lot larger for me. I think fair market value is December's open. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We're looking for it to keep going up. Let's go see what Zcash did so far. Good. I like that. Rejection. Clearly, I want to see lower lows. So 399.58. I want to see that break. It is reclaimed the weekly VWAP. So I don't really love that, because this could be looked at as a buying op. And deltas are bullish here intraday. Yeah, I kind of like that. You made a lower hourly low, so let's see if we can get the higher time frames in line as well. The fact that it hasn't been able to get an upside break once it did reclaim this, it could right now. Right, it could right now. I wouldn't be a buyer here. I would have been a buyer over here. I would have wanted to take the quicker long. The fact that it's spent a few hours just chopping away like this, it kind of feels like it could break back down. And Ethereum pulling back into last week's open. VIX making a higher high on the day. I would be happy to see VIX trade and stay under 1585, as that is last week's high. Yes, last week's high, 1585. So as long as VIX can stay under 1585, I keep my long support, or, you know, I think that supports a bullish narrative. It's got to keep going above this, though. All right. Pump Dumpo, 1 million. I trade 5 minutes. My entry is 69. Let me see what you said earlier, bud, because I'm not sure. 0.69. The way it is. I don't see your previous comment. So I'm not sure what you're in at 69, or if you're just trolling me. Not really sure. I'm okay with the trolling. Yeah. S&P, you know, it's trading at unchanged on the week as far as your weekly options expiration pricing. So every week the option market gives us an expected move on the S&P. Basically, you're trading at Friday's close right now today on the cash market. The SPX would be that ticker symbol. It would be interesting to see if that ultimately ends up being support. Is you have stopped out pretty much most of retail on the ES futures. It damn near hit $7,000 today. So that high on the SPX 500 CFD is 69.96. 7,000 is going to be a big number on the S&P. I can't believe it's up there, but inflation is a thing. Silver having a phenomenal breakout day again today. So basically all it did was set a daily low at the previous all-time high of 83.96 and then bounced. And you're making fresh all-time highs right now, 88.95. I think if you get above 90 on silver, you will probably hit 100. Now, I wouldn't be a buyer of silver at $88 a troy ounce. But if you're scalping, you can get above 90 and hold. I think you go to 100. If you reject 90, then we could see a longer term pullback. Silver is extremely overbought. On the monthly, RSI is at like 93. It is record levels of overbought on monthly and weekly charts. Be very careful buying record overbought prices. We want to see Bitcoin hold this area and start to rally. Barcoin's still struggling. Bonk has been struggling, but Bonk is, they're all meme tokens, of course. There's the breakdown. Yes, sir, baby. I'll take it. Because I'm afraid that that Bitcoin short is going to be stopped. So here's the positioning if you're interested on Zcash. All right, you can see I shorted it. We're in here. We were short over here. This move clearly stopped us out, and I re-entered the short when we got this high swing failure pattern. Took the short, and I have been adding to the short as the breakdown occurred. So by adding to the short, taking profits over here, we've booked about $834 worth of gains. We have $383 of unrealized P&L. If we break down and see a downside continuation, this trade will pay nicely. As you can see, it's already up to 445. So the positioning is pretty decent. It's smaller than I normally do. I normally like to go in on Zcash and XMR with a $500 position size. But I did not want to lower the cost basis below this swing low. So I was forced to take a smaller position. This does look good. I do love the fact that we do have those lower lows in now. So what will be extremely important moving on is, do we continue? So new short entries will be looked to be had at 401 at 4-hour supply. You could also watch 4-hour res. But what must happen is this candle must close like this. It needs to close like this. If this candle closes back up in here, I don't like the short. But I definitely like this move. This is a trap. If you look at this right here, perfect. This is picture perfect. This is what we look for right there. Just boom. Reject it off that 50. You go up there, give it a nice little chef's kiss. Mwah, and then roll over. That's what we look for. So bull trap here, potentially in the works. We shall see. And then I got stopped out of the freaking Bitcoin long. So the only thing I have down here is the short. You can see I only have 2 positions on. It moved too quick while I was running my mouth about Michael Saylor and that Bitcoin interview that was brutal. So this little wiki-dee-doo right here got me. I bought over here at like I said, on that 7 a.m. pullback. Where was it? Right here. So right through here is when I bought. Because we did get that hourly expansion up, and then rejection stopped me out. Then it went up, stopped out the shorts earlier today, and now it's rolling over. Okay, so moving on, this is going to be your short side entry. If you have a bearish bias on Bitcoin, this is the entry here. Because Bitcoin failing to get upside continuation above yesterday's high literally means it's a rejection, objectively speaking. It makes it very simple to mitigate risk. You could set short entries at 92.4, stop losses at 92.8. That is a 0.5% move. So your leverage would need to be cranked down a little bit to get that stop that wide. Less than 20x on the leverage to be able to get that short off. And that is if you get filled. Probably should have been looking for the entry already, but I don't have a short side bias on Bitcoin. I have a short on for protection, but my bias is higher. My bias is higher. As long as you're above this stuff down here, my bias is up. It just looks really good here. Like I said, it's reclaimed pretty much everything it needs to. There's your weekly open there. So let's look at this on the 15 minute. Yeah, it looks good for upside continuation. I still feel strongly about potential longs here. I wouldn't like to put that long on late in the session because we generally are looking for the expansion that occurs directly after the New York Open. Like on Zcash, for instance. Have a bearish bias on Zcash going into the 9:30 session. We want to see that expansion occur after 9:30. And you can see that. Here's the 9 o'clock candle. It actually started happening pretty much right at 9:30. So here's your 9 a.m. open. You closed higher. 9:30 open. You put in a slight move up and then dump. So this is what we try to catch, this expansion. So I would expect downside continuation on this as long as the 4-hour candle closes under support. Support is right there. That's your lowest 4-hour close in this consolidation. Looks really good. I love it. That's what we're targeting. That stuff right there. Looks like Bitcoin's trying to do that, but unfortunately for the sellers, they're going to need to run down below this low before they can say they probably got it. As long as Bitcoin is pulling back into this section here, it's still a potential long. You've done nothing here to threaten or prompt me to take a short. Excuse me. Coffee burps. The VIX is like causing concern for me in the S&P a little bit. No doubt. I mean, for that fact alone, one could potentially put on the short. We were looking for the S&P to reject this price yesterday. We didn't love the short because of all that momentum going into the level, but that was the level where we were looking for shorts. You can see it did not work out. It broke out, made a fresh all-time high, smoked all of the Friday sellers, chopped sideways, put in this fresh all-time high today, come real close to tagging $7,000. Not on the cash market. Here is the SPX, so you did not get, what is that high? Is it within $3? It's $69.85. So you got within $5 of making that $7,000 print. But even though you're pulling back here on the SPX and you have made this lower low, You are still very constructive on the weekly range, because this green line right here is your weekly range volume weighted average price. As long as you're closing larger time frame candles above this, you're still very constructive. A breakdown under it would bring the S&P back down to 69.11 over time, more than likely. And then again, that will be the next potential area of support to watch for if you're trading the ES. But yeah, this looks really good here for upside continuation. Oof, that would be terrible. Hopefully you didn't get filled. Hopefully you guys don't have a short side bias, but I mean, I don't know what price is going to do. It's very important that you understand that. I am not some kind of market wizard that can predict where price is going. I cannot. My strategy focuses around simply applying leverage at specific areas. My ability to analyze price action objectively is what gives me really good areas to look for. So you can learn that. It's up to risk management to dictate your profitability. Awesome. Let's see what we got. The way it is has not responded, so I'm not. I will look at the asset you want me to look at, sir. You just gotta let me know what asset you're looking at. I don't know what asset is trading at 69 cents, but 69 is a good number. VIX did make a higher daily high, but it is still under last week's high, which is good for bullish risk markets. Let's look at the four sectors that make up the S&P 500. You can see the financials here pulling back out of a breakout area. This was your all-time high on financials. You did see a nice little upside expansion, but this is looking more and more like a rejection. You've got the tech sector here, which is the biggest sector inside the S&P 500, trying to break out of a triangle here. I don't know if this triangle is the right triangle yet, because triangles can take a lot of time and make, you know, new highs and stuff like that. You could just be early on it. We're trying to see, is it accumulation or is it distribution? If it's distribution, it will fail the breakout and roll back over. That would be bad for the S&P. The XLC, which is the communication sector, has a lot of big tech names in it, so it's kind of like the tech sector. It's got a big weighting in the S&P, also experiencing a bearish outside reversal candle on the daily chart. This is huge. You took out yesterday's high, so this could potentially be the weekly high now. So now sellers are going to be looking for short retests all the way back up to potentially 117, as that would be looked at as a supply zone, right? So this isn't really good news unless it can close back above this today. That's Friday's low, so yeah, it's not going to look great. You're an inside weekly candle though, so you can see where potential support will be. Real close. It'd be hard for me to take that short with support right there, but we'll see if it holds up. If the VIX continues its expansion in the upward direction, Bitcoin will roll over. It's the way I look at it, right? The breakout above last week's high yesterday was very, very not good, but it did ultimately sell off yesterday. So right now you're in price discovery to see who wins the battle for the weekly range. And right now the bulls have it. If they can keep it, that would be great. Rejected by the lows later. Yeah, the next lows to watch would be 91, 180. It's not even lows, it's just today's open, but that will be the next major area of support. And then under that is December's open. December's open, all the way down here back to 93.64. Those are your key levels for support resistance on Bitcoin. Key area of resistance is still 94.640. This is also potential resistance, though. If we look at the session volume profile for the day's range, volume point of control is down here. So low value area is down here. Looks like upside continuation to me, but only time will tell. You break back under this stuff and you try to fill in these low volume area nodes down here, then obviously it's just going to be another crappy range bound day. But I've seen nothing here yet really to say, yeah, it's probably going down. Not yet. If you're looking for shorts, this is where you're looking for them. It's as simple as it can be. It's just, it's a risky proposition putting on a short while price is trading above yesterday's high. Very risky, because price is literally telling you that it has the potential to go up. If the shorts were in control of this asset, it would be making lower lows, not higher lows. Like I said, the S&P right now at 69.56 is a potential buying opportunity. I don't know that it'll hold, but it could. And it would be nice, like, if with me looking at the daily chart and just having the experience that I do have, this does look to me like it's going up. Your weekly low could already be in. Last week was a pullback. The week prior to that was an expansion. So in a 3-bar pattern, we typically look for expansion, pullback, expansion. We don't know if we're going to get a 3-bar pattern on the weekly chart, but if we do, it's going to need to be up. That's why if you break under last week's low, I wouldn't be a buyer until you get down to the yearly open. But if it can reject going lower there, then I do want to be a buyer. I just never got that opportunity as it kept making higher lows. It did give me opportunities to get long at daily support. I just didn't take them. The chart looks constructive here, very constructive. Put in an accumulation formation here and you're making higher lows out of the accumulation. That is typically really good. So basically, since your price compression happened here, set that low, set that high, and then compressed, this would be literally fair value. December's open. So this is the expansion portion. It could drop back under this, but does it get downside continuation under fair value? If it refuses to do such, I would be a buyer down in there. But you got a fresh weekly high. That's the second one you made. All right, this was your first fresh week high. Now second fresh week high. So it is still trending in the upward direction on the near term. Dollar had a bearish day yesterday. Today is pulling back a lot of that range. We'll see if the dollar can find resistance. So that did not work out. Clearly, let's go look at the DXY real quick. You can see what the DXY is trying to do here. It's trying to reclaim what it lost yesterday. So daily res for me, 99,132 would be a shortable opportunity. If it's trading above that, then it's probably going up. This was your weekly open. You set a higher low. It looks like a rejection. It looks like it wants to go higher. Daily 21 here. So dollar is a very difficult position here because last week was a fresh breakout. So the dollar looks to be targeting 99.30. So this looks like a pullback to what was resistance, and it held. The dollar right now looking like it's trying to put in a bigger move to the upside. I would be hard pressed to put that short on at daily res, but we'll see what it does when it gets there. On the very near term, the trend is up. This trend line is a long-term trend line. It goes all the way back to 2011. So it is kind of a very important trend line, but it's been range bound for 6 months. So the trend line is not relative for near-term trades. It is only relative for long-term strength. This is why it's been range bound for 6 months here, because of this trend line, as I would assume. So as long as this is happening, the dollar is threatening higher prices. I think the best short would be December's open on the dollar, but only if it fails there. Very difficult to trade the dollar when it looks like this. I mean, unless you're buying support, right? If you're buying lows, then it's not so difficult, but yesterday would have been your buying op. I wouldn't have wanted to buy that, but it's holding so far. I don't know if daily res would be more important or yesterday's open. Yesterday's open's the weekly open, so I'd put more emphasis on that. Right? If it rejects the week open, it would be a sellable opportunity. Could this be a bull trap in the making right now? It could be, but the problem is there's nothing on the indicators that we look at that would tell us that's what that is. You know what I mean? So it's a lot more risky short, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. It could be a bear trap. I mean, a bull trap, but the bulls have the momentum, clearly. As long as the bulls have the momentum, you almost need to be a buyer. If you're a trend follower. So since the dollar is bullish, that could be affecting Bitcoin's ability to break out. S&P now well under weekly VWAP. So S&P looking like it's trying to break down. I don't need to put a short on here because that would just ruin my cost basis. So that's why I'm not participating in the short. I was trying to get on the long side. I have my... So on my account, I have cross-separated leverage on Bitcoin. So that means I can buy it like I bought it earlier this morning and sell it at the same time. That's what cross-separated leverage is. All other assets I have normal. If I take the short, it ruins my cost basis. If I take a new short here on Bitcoin, it will not necessarily ruin my cost basis, but the short's up here. It's not down here for me. It's yesterday's high. So that'd be right there, 92,523. It would just be a new short position. It wouldn't bring this down. It would just be a full-on new short there. So I guess I could. So I'll mark it and watch it but I think you've missed it if you haven't taken it already. I honestly believe it's going up. It's a bullish engulfing candle. And unless it breaks down under here, then it will be a bearish engulfing. But as of right now, it's still a bullish engulfing. The close is in 44 minutes. Oh, sorry. Let's see when the close is. 37 minutes. Well, that's the sell if you're a seller. Don't ask me why that's flashing up there. I have no idea. It's a bug or something. But the Zcash short looking pretty good. Starting to make some money here. I like to see that. I'm not closing it because I anticipate a larger downside move. So it's hard for me to sell this when I think it's going higher, but this is the setup. If you have a short side bias, it's the last setup you're going to get. If it does roll over, it probably will not come back here. But the bulls have the momentum on the 4 hour and they have it on the daily. Now, obviously, daily closes are more important than where price is trading intraday. But as of right now, the bulls are in control. But that's the rejection point. So if you can't break above that, then that's where the short is. But it's just, it doesn't support that narrative. Your weekly open is right there. So let's mark that. As long as you're above that, I can't be a seller. It makes no sense, really, when the momentum is bullish. But if the momentum fails here today, and then it drops back under the weekly open, then any weekly open retests would be another short side setup. If the shorts really are going to win, I don't feel like they are. The technicals do not look like they are. A lot of intraday chaos here while the VIX is still trying to suss out range, but VIX is back above last week's high. So because of that, let's put on the short on Bitcoin if it tags 94.04.06. Let me set a limit up there. It's 92.487. Oh, no, it isn't. Yes, 487. 92.487. Because the VIX is making or right back up above that weekly high, we'll jump on the short at that spot with the limit. As I've only been stopped out once today, so I can afford to take a secondary entry here. I'm only risking $30. I break my risk into thirds. That gives me 3 opportunities to nail the trade. So if it's going to be a short and it rolls over here, then theoretically speaking, that won't get stopped out. And then when it gets to 300 on profit, I take it. That's how I operate. Because my real risk is 100. I'm risking 100 and a chance to make 300. But I get stopped out quick sometimes because I got that risk split up into 3 ways. Sometimes you miss the first shot, right? Or you're a little early or something like that. Or you just get wicked out because of a headline. I don't love the short here. I like the long better. I just got stopped out of it. I would definitely still be holding it with this look. This is bullish. This isn't bearish. You're not bearish until you start to see continuation expanding candles. So look at the difference between Zcash on the 5-minute compared to Bitcoin. You see the difference? That is bullish. This is a buying op. It is absorbing. Now it could roll over and expand in the future, right? I can't predict that. But as far as just looking at what I'm seeing happening and playing out right here, right now, this does not feel like a breakdown. You're still very up on the day. However, the VIX is putting in fresh day highs. The VIX is literally expanding. I did not get filled on that wick. This wick, I did not get filled. But because the VIX is expanding, I can take that secondary short position if I get filled. But you've known what price to watch since I went live. So if you're not in the short yet, or if you've been stopped out, you should have lightened the risk up. The day high is still intact. You should not have been stopped out. If you shorted here at this price and your stop is there, you should be good. At least as far as right now. If the VIX rolls over today and falls down and makes a fresh day low, I would be very upset that I got stopped out of this long position here. Which could happen. Anything and everything is possible in the markets. We're not trying to dictate price direction. Right? We're looking at the markets and putting risk on at specific prices, and then if it respects what we think happens, then we make money. If it don't, we don't. Simple. Very easy. Dollars expanding upward, VIX expanding upward. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is accumulating or distributing. Did I get filled? No, I did not. I would drop it down just a hair. But if you look at that daily candle, it still looks very bullish. I mean, you're trading right here. Remember, if the VIX is under this, I don't love the short. When it's above it, I'm okay with it. S&P looks like it's a breakdown. It is a downside expansion. This is what we would look for and call a swing high failure pattern. But does that continue? So for the people that shorted, say, 69.84, they're in the money for sure. It's got to get up here to fill me. But if it does just roll over here, that short up there would be better. It's going to pay more anyways. So there's the fill on spot. That should have been a fill. The spot market did hit yesterday's high, so I'm not sure what's going on with the futures market. Hey, there's the fill. Don't love it, man. So we're gonna set our stop to be $30. I've got 20x leverage on. So I am going to lose like 80 or 70 bucks if I put the stop up above the day high. And I don't want to lose 70 or 80 bucks. I want to lose 30 bucks. I don't like the short. It looks bullish to me. But we'll see. I can get out of it here because if we're trading above today's or this previous high, we almost know it's going to stop out the high of day, right? It should reject here if it's going lower. Should be as simple as that. But we'll see what happens. SVP, session volume profile, still looks good for the upside move. Looks like the SVP, session volume profile, is trying, or the point of control is trying to migrate up. That might be better for short side entries later on in the session, but it still could propel prices higher. That just means people are jumping in the short here. So if it squeezes, that they're going to get stopped out. That's going to bring in more demand. Because to get out of a stop, you have to buy back into the market. Or to get out of a short. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't love the short. I love this. That's what I want to see when I have a short position on. I want to know that I'm right. I want to see those lighter highs. Then I want to see that expansion, fresh lows, and continuation. That's a short. This looks like it's going up. We'll see though. And there that goes. So yeah, that's okay. If you're in it, you're probably going to get it too. It's going, man. It's trying to go. Yeah, VIX is back off those highs. So yeah, it looks like the long was the trade to make today on Bitcoin. And you could have picked it up there. It would have been a hard buy, but still. With this being so far down under price, I mean, it makes it pretty clear to the trained eye. Maybe not so clear to other people, but for me, it was a no-brainer to be long going into today's session. I just got stopped out because the risk was too close. I bought the previous 4-hour open. So literally, this current 4-hour open. That's what I did. This candle closed, I hit buy. And that set my limit buy right on that open. So as soon as it went over to make this candle, it filled me. And then I put the same $30 stop loss on. But it was anticipating this breakout. Now that it's 10:30 and the majority of the volume has been thrown down on this thing, whenever you're trying to trade, just keep that in mind, right? At 9:30, that's when the New York session fires up. And you can look at volume on stocks and see on volume by time, clearly that volume diminishes over time. So you get the biggest, largest volumes at 9:30 and then they start decreasing every minute after. Until you get the break, whether it's up or down. Sometimes the volume will be large in that scenario, but you get what I'm saying. After that, the volume starts to decrease because people have already made their decision, right? It just took price a little bit more time to react. So if you're short at a level, say 9:30, right there is when it tagged it, and that's 9:30, and you allowed it to make the high and come off, then you set your stop, and then it gets to 10:30 and price still has not dropped, you're probably on the wrong side of the trade. At least if you're trying to capture that New York open volume and the expansion that happens after, which is what we are trying to do. Consistently. We do it very good. Consistently and over time. So just, yeah. Bitcoin got me. That's going to happen. It felt like a long. It looked like a long. It turned out to be a long. Go, baby, go. I hold a lot of Bitcoin on cold storage, so obviously I have a more bullish bias, but my shorts are to protect downside moves. I own a lot of IBUT puts, just in case we have another bear market leg. I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm ready to let those puts expire worthless. But if it doesn't, and we do for some reason get that secondary bear market leg, I will be fine. But I would love to have a short on futures as well. I want to be doubly fine. I want to get to parity at some point. We did nail the majority of the short on Bitcoin last year. For the November breakdown, we were short. I put out a video on Saturday right here on this day telling everybody to get short at Friday's high. Literally said if you see Sunday or Monday we trade above Friday's high and reject, you want to put a short on there. So we didn't catch this on Bitcoin, but we did catch this on Pingu. We were short Pingu, so we did catch that 80% drop. And then we nailed that short right there. So we were in, for the most part, of this downside break. So then we came into December and did nothing. We're still trading at and around December's open. We've done nothing for an entire month. I mean, we have been building in higher lows, and we do have January as a higher high. So we are primed for this breakout. And this is, like I said, it is a potential bullish pattern. Right here is your ascending triangle. Bottom. You're making those higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, because buyers are coming in, buying up the higher lows. The sellers have that one line to defend, right? They don't have another one. They only have that. So when this happens, you usually will see continuation. Boom, boom, boom. That's the plan here. For that breakout, and then boom, boom, boom. 3 days of upside continuation, which is what I was trying to get positioned for today. All good. We're making money on the other short, so hopefully that gives us a breakdown continuation. All right, yeah, that's how it works. Looking pretty good here today, Bitcoin. Love to see it. Asia pumped it last night. Did they? There's 9:30 in the morning. So right through here's your Asian session. There's your day open. Oh yeah, it does look like that. They pumped it, and then the London session is right here. So from 1 to 3 pretty much encapsulates the entire London Open. It was a little bit choppy, but then as it got later in the session, it put in that higher high. Then sellers try to knock it back. It pulls back into New York. Sets a lower high, puts in this lower low. Boom. Pull back, boom. Looks good. Looks good, looks constructive. This is what we want to see for bullish breakouts, but we would much rather be long from here. Too bad. That's okay, though. Now USA will short. Yeah, they will try. Wait for the levels. Exactly. Can you take a look at Doge USDT and Doge Bitcoin? Absolutely. Yes, sir. Here, let's go look at Doge USDT first because I have it on the watch list over here. It's right there. Looking really good today, but it still needs to get above yesterday's high. Yesterday was a bearish engulfing on Doge and a break below support. So it being up here, I wouldn't like the short on Doge. If I was looking for short side continuation trades, it would have been down here, most likely. you still will have those die-hard short sellers thinking that this is an entry, but if Bitcoin continues its upward trend today, I'm assuming Doge is going to break out as two. I wouldn't be shorting this, because if you lose this, like if price starts trading above this, then yesterday was a bear trap. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you did get the break here, even it's a perfect bear trap setup. We would have been all over this on the open if I would have looked at it yesterday at the open. The Trade Talk community would have been all over this. We would have literally been watching that low and that close. Those would have been entry prices for longs, anticipating this being a trap. However, I didn't see it, so I missed it, but it's okay. Yeah, I think they're going to get ran over, but I don't know if there's as much demand in something like Doge as there is in, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum. You know what I mean? It's like the OG meme coin. It doesn't really have much use case. I think it does have a use case now, but it really got its claim to fame when Elon started spamming it on Twitter. Other than that, if that wouldn't have happened, I assume Doge would not be at these prices. Because it even took out that October flash crash lows. But yeah, this looks like a selling exhaustion move. Now the buyers must show up and pick those higher lows up. If the buyers show up and pick up those higher lows, then I would say, yeah, you probably do see upside continuation on Doge. December's open, still going to be a huge resistance level for Doge, but today looks constructive. This is the line in the sand for Doge. If it fails to get upside continuation from here, that wouldn't be a good thing. Right? That would not be a good thing. Looks like it is, though. But we shall see. Just like the yesterday put in that bear trap on the daily, you could literally be putting in a bull trap now on the 4 hour. I don't know, right? I can't see into the future. But I think the best short would have been at yesterday's open, and it looked like that was going to be the trade to make, as you did get that downside push, but that's your close right there. That's the trap. It came in and just bought it up. It looks okay. It looks like it wants to break out. If you can get upside continuation from this blue line, I'm not sure if that's right though. Let's make sure. Yeah, it's right. I need to move it. We got a new month. That's last month's. So no, never mind that. There you go. Okay, so it isn't game, set, match for Doge yet. It looks good. It looks like it's trying to break out, but it's still a sellable trade. I wouldn't love the short if Bitcoin continues its breakout move today. But as far as a technical trade, it's still legit. You could still short Doge. Let's pull up. That is the open. So let's pull up January's volume. Oh, goodness. POC is here. Small volume node here. So this would be the, I don't know if I could trade it. I don't know if I could short it up there. It would be a risky short. It should fail here. This should be the line in the sand because that's yesterday's high. So if it's going to fail, It should fail there. If it doesn't, it's not a short. This looks more like an accumulation trade, right? The sellers were trying to break it, couldn't. There's the break, and they don't get continuation. Like some big buyer just stepped up right here. Some big buyer said, nope, I've seen this pattern play out 1,000,000 times. I'm buying it. It's going up. You even have, because of the majority of the volume is traded through here in January, your value area low for the entire month is right here at 13,639. And it like cuts those candle bodies off. See that? That's your value area low. And it, see how it just knocks those candle bodies right off, like you took a sword and went thring, chopped them off. That's support. So this will be the last area to operate as a seller. If it could break out, you could see a short squeeze happen, and you could see fresh January highs potentially. Clearly, it doesn't look as good as Bitcoin because Bitcoin has already accumulated the December open and is looking for Jan highs. So there is inherent weakness in this because of that. So I could look at it like this. I could look to get, like this morning, had I had my stop a little bit wider, I could look at taking the short on Doge as a upside rejection failure on Bitcoin. So like to kind of hedge off the long risk, the long only risk on Bitcoin, one could, in theory, put the short on Doge. But I would say if the sellers couldn't break it down earlier in the month, what makes you think they're going to be able to do it now? Now that doesn't really have any weight, right? Because bad news could come out tomorrow and set a fresh weekly low. The markets are very chaotic on an intra-week basis. Very, very chaotic. You have to be a very good risk manager to do any good when you're looking to be a market operator inside of weekly ranges. And if you're trying to be a market operator inside of daily ranges, you better be an even better risk manager. Because every day, price is just too chaotic. We call it random market violence. Yeah. Can I look at pants USDT? We ain't wearing any. We ain't wearing them. All right, so Doge BTC. You didn't give me an exchange, so I'll just take the top one, which is Binance. Ugh, there is no volume on Doge BTC. This is a 4-hour chart, and they're ticks. It's a tick chart. Yeah, tick, tick, tick. I don't like it when I see this. That means the volume is super light. This is literally market, I was getting ready to say the wrong thing. This is literally, it looks similar to Doge USD, and that's because the liquidity providers are trading this thing. Nobody else. Yeah, liquidity providers are basically trading amongst themselves here just to keep price moving. But as far as big volumes, there are none. Let's go look and see on a different exchange. That's even worse. Yeah, that's even worse. Yeah, there's no volume on this. The chart looks identical to the US dollar chart, but I would say it's mostly because of liquidity providers. That's it. Without liquidity providers, you just get this noise, these dash dots, the Morse code of price action. There's nobody trading it. There's no real liquidity in this. So you can see gigantic wicks, right? You can get wicked out from mass, like some big news event or something happens and you get a gigantic just, Now you haven't seen any for a long time, so that's a good sign, but I would rather trade US dollar pairings. If you're building sats or trying to just build up your Bitcoin bags, okay, just be careful. Just be careful. Not much liquidity on these. Not much happening. It's the same. Stack sats though. Stack them up. Good morning, Janet. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. Bitcoin breaking out here, looking for more. Don't know if we're gonna get it. VIX back off the daily highs. That's a good sign. Under last week's low. That's a good sign. S&P 500 backed up off the low of day. Currently still looks kind of rough, but today is very much an inside day on the cash market. So if you look at the S&P, it's still a very much inside day. You're below yesterday's high. You're above yesterday's low. Very consistent with upside continuation. All right. Yeah, it's about all I got on it. Yeah, I saw that. Silver still at 88.51. I did put some fibs on it, but I just used last month's range. I tried to look at this thing on a longer time frame. Let me make it to where you can see. I tried to analyze this on a larger time frame, but as you can see here on the 3-month, the quarterly chart, dude, this thing is so overbought. You're at 89. And the monthly's worse. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 continuous months of expansion. Higher highs and higher lows. It is literally at 92.74. I know you can't see that, but you just have to trust me, bro. 92.74 on the RSI. That's a monthly time frame, guys. I would be hard pressed, and that's record. That is a record. You are in the midst of a short squeeze here. That is the only reason why you're still moving up. Shorts are being squeezed. And they are being squeezed hard. They're trying to juice every last drop out of them shorts. And it's working. My best opinion on this would simply be the reason you're seeing this make fresh highs is because whatever big bank had on that massive short. Remember, it was news. Bitcoin's moving up, by the way. Just made fresh day highs. I expect that to continue. But anyway, going back up here, there was news out a couple weeks ago where they lowered the margin or upped the margin requirements on silver because they were trying to stop it, right? They cheated. Cheating bastards. They know retail can't do that. So to keep retail from buying it up and squeezing out their position, they asked their broker buddies to tighten up that margin requirement. So they did. And that popped in that top right there. That's when that top was in. And then the bank went and called up their mommy and daddy, the Fed, and said, hey, I'm kind of losing all my money on this short position. I need you to print me, say, 17 bill. Is that cool? And mommy and daddy, the Fed, said, okay, honey, we will give you that money. So the Fed bailed them out and they closed that massive short position and suffered no losses on the backs of the US taxpayer. And that's why you're breaking out, because they had to close that position. That was probably their one rule. The mommy daddy Fed said, I will bail you out, sonny. but you must close that stupid short trade. So they did. And boom, there's your breakout. Be careful if you're buying silver at these prices. You do have momentum with you. And it does make sense to be taking those kind of intraday scalps to the upside, but just be careful if you're buying it to hold. This thing is going to pull back. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if. It's a matter of when and at what price. Like, those are the two things I can't tell you. But I would not be trying to short this. This short squeeze could go on for days. We don't know how big the short position was. I saw one tweet that said Citigroup had a $5 billion short on, and then who was it? It was another bank had like a $1.8 billion short. So yeah, those guys probably closed down those shorts because the Fed injected $17 billion into their back pockets. They never lose. Even when they're wrong, they don't lose. Wouldn't that be great? Like, just open up a bank. Like, that seems to be the best business in the US. Get your banking license, open up a bank, and the Fed will bail you out. There you go. That's Trade Talks advice for 2026. Yeah, be careful if you're buying this. It's record levels of overbought on the quarter, record levels of overbought on the month. You were also at record levels of overbought on the week. I can tighten it up enough so you can see. There you go. Record levels. Look over to the right. You'll see that RSI did in fact peak strongly above that previous cycle high, and that was 88.41. So that upper peak over here got up to, and probably higher than, 91 on the weekly. Remember, that RSI prints on the weekly close, not on the high. It prints on the close. So it was on this week right there. So yeah, that was about as high as it got because it closed at highs. Since it closed at highs, you didn't see a higher number than 91.50 on that. But still, I mean, it's going. Looks like a legit breakout too, but there's no way I'd buy it. I own silver, so I'm more than okay with it going to $1 million if it wants to. I own silver coins. 99.9% pure silver coins. Let them go. Let them go. I love it. But yeah, if you're trying to predict where tops are going to be, the best case scenario that I could pull on this using that F.A.F.O extension tool was just grabbing last month's low, push it up to last month's high. Oh, sorry. And then pull it down to this month's low. And that'll give you potential targets or potential areas of resistance. It's not like a guaranteed win or anything, but right now you're literally testing the 618 of that extension. I know you can't see the numbers. Here, let me just do this and maybe you will be able to see the numbers. Let's go middle. There you go. You can see you are at the 618 of that extension. So up here is a 1-to-1 move of last month's range. A 100% extension. 99 to 21. So yeah, it's volatile. But I can imagine this might be where you see some profit taking happen, but I still wouldn't want to put on a short there. Especially looking at it as an intraday. Intraday charts look like it's going higher. Like that pullback couldn't even make a lower low on an hourly basis. That's really, really bullish. Just be careful if you're buying it. Super, super extended that thing is. All right, Bitcoin making fresh daily highs, looking good. That puts us above 2021's yearly opening range. Will it keep it? I don't know, but there you go. Let's get it drawn up. There you go. So people were probably looking for shorts here. My short is just right in this area, so it isn't far from getting stopped out. This is a pretty sizable expansion. See how now yesterday's high is roughly about today's midpoint. This is a legit breakout. That's what I was anticipating when I took the long on it this morning. Literally what I was looking for to happen. This is a legit move, guys. I've been doing this a long time. It looks like you're going to see fresh January highs at some point this month. If it keeps doing what it's doing today, I don't see why it couldn't be today. Rich, like literally why I made that F.A.F.O thumbnail. I felt like today it was going to happen. Would you sell now or wait for more long term? Would I sell what? Like my Bitcoin bags? No, I'm not selling what I own on Bitcoin. I've sold all I'm ever going to sell. I'm looking to accumulate more Bitcoin in 2026. I would love to be able to do that on a CoinM perpetual swap contract, but Weeks don't provide that anymore. So basically all I do, what I am going to do this year is with the USDT trade when I do good and build my account back up for 2026, instead of just making that consistent withdrawal, I'm probably just going to convert the Tether into Bitcoin and then withdraw the Bitcoin into cold storage. I'm not looking to sell any Bitcoin right now. I'm looking to buy. I see where we are on the adoption curve and what Bitcoin could be if and how the world is right now. Literally, like the US is the world leader. It has the best economy, or if you want to say China's economy is better, I don't know. Maybe there's some statistic that says that there's some objectivity to that statement, but it's one of the top economies in the world, right? And it is heavily in debt. Heavily in debt. Every country in the world right now is in so much debt. It feels like we're at the precipice of a massive change. The US it gets blamed as being a capitalist society, and though free markets are a capitalist thing, the United States of America has not been a capitalist country since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now you can argue with left-leaning people to say whether it was those social policies that basically made the 50s the golden age of the US economy. I wouldn't disagree with that statement, but it's when the government gets involved in business, that's when you're no longer in a capitalist society. So actually what the left-wing people are mad at is the US isn't communist enough, right? They want a full-on communist nation because they want the nation to collapse. I guess because they know communism isn't good. Statistically proven. The CCP is not a full-on communist party. I mean, the party is, but they have, it's a mix, right? It's not one or the other. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't see anybody bringing a fix to the table. So that has, in my opinion, that is a tailwind for Bitcoin. Because as of right now, at least January the 13th, 2026, Bitcoin is the best way to save your purchasing power. It just is. It's the best. There's nothing else that's better than Bitcoin. Gold was better than Bitcoin in 2025, but Bitcoin has been better than gold since Bitcoin was invented. Gold won 1 year, right? It won 1 year. But Bitcoin has the propensity, and the internet isn't going anywhere. They're building an AI super god being right now on the back of the internet. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. So it makes sense that that money goes to the internet. I think the problem, I would be full on a Bitcoin maximalist if you didn't have the core developers doing what they're doing with subscription or inscriptions and putting pictures on the blockchain. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. It's just a way for them to maximize profitability for themselves, right? It has nothing to do, it's not going to help the blockchain by putting pictures and things on it. It should only be for transactions. It should only be what it was designed to be. So there are risks that Bitcoin may not be the best in the future, but as of right now, in my opinion, it is the best. So until something better comes along, and if a government builds it, it won't be better. It will be worse. It will be way, way worse. They want to track your purchases. Get out of here. Why? Why do you need that info? What is relevant about that info? Tracking how much money we have is one thing. Where we spend it, no thank you. No thank you very much. I hope I am never a part of a system like that. So Bitcoin is the best for me, for what I see. But maybe something comes along better, right? Because Bitcoin it has an issue where it does take, even with the Lightning Network, and the Lightning Network isn't even, I don't even think that's supposed to be a full-on fix. It's just, but we don't even know what kind. AI might be able to help some really smart individuals create a better money system, right? We may not even be able to fathom what money becomes in the future. The future is, nobody can predict it one way or the other. But what we can do is look at statistical data, and we can look at graphs, and we can look at adoption curves and things like that to make sound investment decisions. And Bitcoin, it's still really early. Even though it's $93,400, $500, $400 right now, right? It is still super early. Estimates are that less than 400 million, it's between 2 and 400 million people own it. So imagine when it's 1.2 billion, 2.4 billion. Where is Bitcoin when that happens? Way higher. Way, way higher than this. So yeah, I'm just going to accumulate it. It's all the money that I put into it. It's all trading profits anyway, right? So it's, the way that I look at it is, it's not money that I had to work my hard back off for, right? It's trading profits that I can, instead of putting in a savings account in a bank, I'll just put it on the blockchain and see what happens. If I lose it all, I didn't lose any of my money. I just lost some profits that I sunk into another investment. It's not going to affect my everyday life. That's the best way to invest in Bitcoin. There's one girl I saw the other day. Let me see if I can find that really quick. It's fantastic. Ooh, I think I recorded it. Let me see. Just give me 1 second. Let me pull up my recordings from this. Let me see over here. Oh, I deleted it. Damn it. 111. That was 2 days ago. Let's go back over here real quick. Let's go to this channel. Videos. 3 days ago. Let me see if it's
Breaking news
one.
confirmed. The printer is coming. No, not from Jerome Powell.
Give me 1 second. All right, right here. Fantastic.
Percent.
I've been saving $1 of Bitcoin every day for 365 days, and I've been doing the savings challenge for 3 years since January 1, 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, here are the results. The total value of my Bitcoin
$1 a day, every single day, since January 1st, 2022. She's totally invested $1,436. The current value of her portfolio is 3184. That's a 121% return. So Bitcoin, because of what it is and how it has worked in the past and how I fully expect it to continue to work in the future, it's like got this built-in mechanism to where it's like a company that will match your investment. So like this girl has been injecting $1 single of liquidity into Bitcoin every day for 3 years, and Bitcoin has matched her investment. Now, obviously, if you bought in 2025 in October, like say October 3, then your investment is not only up 121%, it's been cut in half by 30. I get it. But this is what I want you to take from that. Every single person who has ever bought Bitcoin, if they held it for more than 4 years, they got not only their money back, but more. Think about that stat. Bitcoin has always revisited all-time highs, and it has always done it in less than 4 years. That's amazing. That literally means that you can buy all-time highs and 5 years later make a profit. It's almost guaranteed, right? It's not guaranteed because there are future risks that no one can foresee. I'm just simply saying it's historical data. It's a data set and it's historical. So just because of that, that literally means that you almost are guaranteed to make a return if you buy the all-time high. That stat is insane to me. So every dip, I'm looking to be a buyer. I would be more than okay for Bitcoin to drop down to $50,000 because that's where the 200-week simple moving average is. I would be more. Oh, I don't have it. I would be more than okay buying down there. Make sure that's it. Perfect. Boom. Like 57,591 is where the 200 simple is. Let's look at Bitcoin on Bitstamp real quick. Right? And let's scroll this baby out. So right here is when that's when you first got 200 Bitcoin weekly candles. So that's where this indicator starts. That has always been a phenomenal, absolute, magnificent place to be a buyer. And it will be again. Now, I'm not saying it won't go lower than 57,000. I'm just saying I'll be a buyer down there. If I'm a buyer at 93, I'm a buyer at 57. This asset has been voted on. It's been in the world for long enough now. If they were going to kill Bitcoin, they would have already. This is not a bubble. This is real growth. You are seeing real life adoption happen before your eyes, and you're allowing the FUD to talk you out of investing in it. Meanwhile, banks are going in there and they're buying every bit they can, hand over fist. One man owns $50 billion worth. Not he, but his company. $50 billion worth of this. Think about that. He is either really, really stupid or really, really smart. And since he built that business up from scratch and then saved that business in 2020 and is able to say, we have bought $50 billion worth of Bitcoin, doesn't seem like he's really stupid to me. It seems like this man has figured something out, right? Now, that's risky to say that. So I'm not telling you to do it. If you don't feel right buying Bitcoin, don't buy Bitcoin. But I honestly believe every individual on the planet should own a little bit, a very little bit at minimal. What can it hurt to just buy $100 worth of Bitcoin and leave it alone? Obviously, that's not going to do much for you in the future, clearly, right? But you get what I'm saying. It's definitely worth the risk. Because what if this thing does get mass adopted? What if they do fix it? Then you're going to look back on your life and say, I could have literally changed the future for my children and their children's children, but I allowed FUD to talk me out of buying it. That would be a terrible place to be. So I buy it. I buy it with an amount of money that I am completely okay with losing. And you should do the same. All right. Yeah, I'm not selling. If you're in profits and you want to sell, that's different, right? But I can't tell you when to do that. A money manager could, but I can't, right? I'm not going to be selling any more of it, but I still will take intraday scalps on it every week forever because it still offers up volatility. But eventually that volatility will get sucked out of it. It'll move very slowly over time, and that's only productive for the investment. Imagine if Bitcoin on an intra-year basis at best lost 10%. Trillions of dollars would flow into the asset. It's because it's so volatile. That's why the trillions hasn't flowed into it yet. Once that volatility gets crunched and it's a safe investment, at least, by doing all the math with the volatility and the time and this and that, then the money will just flow into Bitcoin. So it's going to take some time. There's going to be dips. There's going to be drawdowns, pullbacks. But is this the all-time high? Absolutely not. Not even with what it is right now. I don't believe it'll be the all-time high. This thing just needs really like 5 good weeks and you'll be at all-time highs again. Would you sell your silver? Yes, I would. I did. I sold silver when it hit over. So I bought some, the last time I bought silver, it was at like $20. So when it got into the 40s, like the almost 50, I sold, I think, a couple $1,000s worth of them, but I still have a lot more. Just because I honestly felt like unless gold continues to go up, silver might top out at 50, because that was where the top was. So I was just selling into the highs, if that makes sense, right? I'm just making, and then I'll take those profits that I made from silver and reinvest them when silver has a pullback. When it gets down into the lows again and accumulates for months and everybody thinks silver's dead, I will go back in there and take all that money I made and reinvest it. It's not much, but it's enough. right? And I'll just keep doing that. Same thing with gold. If I'm selling, it's because it's at all-time highs or getting ready to be. But I will not be selling Bitcoin at all-time highs. That's so much different. Bitcoin is amazing. All I need to do is remember the seed phrase. Think about that. And I can go anywhere in the world. I don't have to take the cold storage wallet with me. Like if I buy Bitcoin in a hostile nation, like Iran, the people in Iran right now, right? They're so worried that their currency is going to zero. They're not even going to be able to buy eggs. If they were back when everything was a little bit more cautious, if they were investing in Bitcoin, they would be saved. They would be saved. Think about that. If they started buying Bitcoin, they would not only be better off than the rest of the people in that country, but they would be safe. They would have the money to leave if they needed to, right? They would have the power, the money. Money is power. It does fix things, right? Unfortunately, it's a system we live in, but it is what it is. But now if they try to buy Bitcoin, their currency is so shot, they would literally need $50 million worth of Iran money to buy what is it? It's like $1 is 1.1 million. That's insane to me. A single dollar. That's how much inflation. Those are the people that really need, and they're kids. Maybe not, it depends on the age, but if you're a child in Iran and listening to my voice, which that would be virtually impossible because they've shut your internet off, but you need to be buying Bitcoin. It's the only thing you have right now that is better than anything. You can leave the country with nothing but the clothes on your back. And as long as you've memorized your seed phrase, you can access that Bitcoin at a safe place. Think about that. No other financial asset gives you that freedom. None. You can't. Gold, you got to have proof of that gold. That's what the seed phrase is. It's proof that those Bitcoins are yours. You can leave that hostile nation, get to a safe nation, and then buy a cold storage wallet, re-upload your seed phrase to it, and boom, there's your Bitcoin. And they're very easily transacted nowadays in America, pretty much anywhere. Very easy to convert to fiat, or hopefully in the future be able to buy goods and services with. Some services are accepted on the Bitcoin blockchain right now, and hopefully in the future everything will be. Hopefully in the future you can go to your grocery store, gas station, hospital, lawyer, everywhere. I asked my lawyer the other day if she accepted Bitcoin. Nope. I told her, you need to. You really should. Really should. Because I could pay you right now. I wouldn't have to pull out the old credit card or the debit card and send it up. Like, it's just so much easier, man. Bitcoin has the propensity to be something absolutely amazing. People just, for whatever reason, do not see it yet. I don't even care about the price anymore. I do because I'm a trader, but like what I own doesn't matter. I'm just going to build it, accumulate it, get as much of it as I can while it's still accumulatable, because eventually it's going to just get insanely expensive. $90,000. When I first started really getting heavy into Bitcoin, it was back in the pandemic of 2020. So I was super late when I was trading it through here, but back then I thought $6,000 Bitcoin was way too much. Way too much. I wish I would have kept those. You know what I mean? I wish I would have been in it a lot sooner. I just didn't have the foresight back then. I was like everybody else today. It's just crap. It isn't worth anything. It's, what is it even? Like all of the regular questions that get asked about Bitcoin all the time. How does it work? There's too many steps to take, so on and so forth. But once you really understand what it is and what it has the capabilities to be in the future, it's only going to get better. Coinbase is working on something right now. It's, I forgot what it's called, but they're literally, so like AI has the same problem that, you know, most people do when it comes to tapping or getting access to certain information, right? For instance, you ask a question to AI. If that information is free on some platforms, it may be able to get access to it. But if the specific access or if the specific content you are trying to request is only hidden by a paywall, AI can't access it yet. So Coinbase and some other company, I can't remember. I just briefly looked over the article. I didn't go give it a full-on depth dive, but it was interesting enough to pique my interest. They are building something now on the blockchain so that way AI, instead of paying a full whatever $1.99 or $2.99 monthly to get access to one specific bit of information, these companies will have the ability to accept payment on a blockchain for just that specific requested information. So instead of paying the full $2 or whatever for one article, they can pay pennies for just that one piece of information they're looking to. That will generate billions of dollars in the future, potentially, right? Because more and more information is being paywalled and blocked, and so AI is going to be needing access to all that stuff. There's technologies we can't even fathom yet, that don't even exist yet, that will 10 years from today. And Bitcoin is the king. It was the first. It will be the last. Or not the last, but I honestly, people just haven't woken up to what it is yet. They will. They will. Unfortunately, it'll be when Bitcoin's trading at $1 million per, probably. That's when everybody will be like, I got to get in on this, right? That's usually what happens. It's usually like that. But yeah, I'm fine with selling silver. When I get too much, I have to make room for new ones, I guess. I was talking about, yeah, I got you. Sorry. The problem is not binary. Wait, it is not binary. There isn't just communism and capitalism. The education system failed because there were different economic systems. Exactly. Capitalism, it was gone when the government got involved, right? And like you said, communism isn't what communism was back in the 30s. It's different now because in order for communism to make it, they have to adapt capitalist structures. Communism left unchecked will die. It's proven. It's a proven fact. If you just operate your system as communist, it will not flourish. It will die because you're taking from the few that have the most and giving it to the many. Eventually, you get tapped out. There are no more to take from, and then it dies. It's a self-eating, it's a snake that eats itself. It's proven. So they had to adapt, right? But every nation, eventually, if it keeps going in the way that it has been going, and Biden administration was taking it full on to get away from a nation with borders to be the world all encompassing just one big conglomerate, and there are going to be a few handful elites that make all the decisions. I do not want to be a part of that because they never make decisions that better your life. They never do. Your full on libertarian style stuff, like I'm not I'm in the middle. I'm a normal centrist human being, right? I think people should help other people. I think only trying to accumulate as much wealth for yourself is dumb, right? I think it's useless and dumb. For one man to have all the money would be retarded and stupid. It makes no sense, especially if money is what is required for other people to eat. I think it is dumb. So obviously I think some social policies are good policies. What I don't like is when people use those systems and policies, and instead of using them to help them and use it as a springboard, they become someone who just consistently relies on that system for the rest of their life. So I don't know the answers. I'm just saying, I don't want to ever get to a time where every transaction you make is watched and okayed or not okayed by Big Brother. It isn't fair and it isn't free. You should be able to buy whatever you want, even if it's to the detriment of your own safety. If you choose that route, it should be your choice. Because in that life, in that system, there will be no more free markets, right? You as a normal will not be allowed to participate in a wealth building system. They will try to keep you in check, literally. That ain't good. You see what's happening in Iran right now. I hope they get that guy out of there. I hope he flees to Russia with his tail tucked between his legs. And I hope for Iran's sake that this new guy has a good head on his shoulders to help them. I really do, because we are too far in the future in civilization with technology for any nation to have to live like that. Unless if you choose to live that way, that's one thing. But forcing that on others, nope. That's where you got to draw the line. Not everybody's going to agree with your opinions. People should respect other people's opinions and leave it at that. So Bitcoin looking good here, trying to head up into the previous weekly high. It's still a little ways off from that, but it's looking pretty good, at least on the intraday time frame here. Oh, wrong one. For continuation. Obviously, I'm not going to be looking to put on any new positions here. I need it to do what it's going to do and pull back. Let's go look at what Zcash is doing. Zcash looks to be accumulating those losses, or, whatever. I like that close. So moving on for the rest of the week on Zcash, I think I'm trying to hold down coffee burps, but for Zcash for the rest of the week, if it struggles to close, higher time frame candles back above the weekly VWAP, I would look for it to potentially roll over. Last week was a really big down week, so I'm not anticipating like a big down week this week. I actually figured that we would at least retest 447 before doing any more severe damage. But if there's a max exodus out of Zcash, like into XMR for instance, then there will probably be more losses coming. We don't know that's what's going to happen. So I would just keep an eye on technical levels. And as long as those technical levels fail, I would probably have a sell side bias on Zcash moving forward. And I'm going to hold that short as long as I can on it. I like what I'm seeing here. So on the very near term, like today, or even going into tomorrow, if it just trades sideways for the rest of this session, I would be watching, like, first price I would be watching would be 402 for potential short side entries, and as high as 408 ish. That's just 4 hour supply and 4 hour resistance. Because if it is getting ready to roll over here, you want to take it similarly to like what played out here, right? How it traded up into that supply zone and rejected, and then you saw that trending move take place. It could just sit here and chop from November's low to December's open. This is the range that I'm anticipating prices to stay in for a while people decide if they want to stay in it or if they want to bail. So you could see 366 to 427 be the main range moving forward, and I would be a seller as high as that in January. In November, things may change a little bit, but as far as this month is concerned, you are making lower highs and lower lows. So if that is going to continue, I want to hold shorts. The U.S. is moving back towards the American system. It's trying to, but I don't know. I think the damage is done. I don't know that they'll ever be fully. I mean, I don't think that's true. I see some things that I like about Trump, but there are a lot of things that I don't. I do not like what he did with tariffs and what he did to Bitcoin. I fully put the blame for this bear market on his shoulders. I really do. And especially the way he came out with this look, aim, not even, identify what you're shooting at, just point and shoot style of the way he operates. That was detrimental to Bitcoin. It caused Bitcoin to liquidate over $20 billion worth of leverage and whatever. And those people just did not come back. And that's fully on him. I would say it's more on him than it is on Bitcoin treasury companies being forced to liquidate. Because Trump doesn't do anything with that. With the way that I look at it, Trump doesn't make that announcement on tariffs, doesn't threaten the CCP the way he did. Bitcoin doesn't have that black swan event. It might have pulled back deeply like the S&P did, but it would have regained those losses already. So that's where I see that's where when the S&P and Bitcoin kind of, they did this, like, they took separate paths. And I think the reason for those separate paths was that annihilation right there. It just literally force liquidated too many people, and then it just could not recover here. However much money was liquidated right here down to this low, that money would have had to come right back in order to prop this up here and allow it to slowly start to make that grind back. But that money didn't come back. It didn't. It's slowly being built back up now. I mean, we can look at open interest and see that is currently happening. But that's the reason, in my opinion. You take that day out. Where is it? You take that day out and you don't liquidate $20 billion in a 24-hour period, and the long-term holders, you would still see that decline because of the long-term holders exiting. But it's not all of them exiting, it's just some, right? Some. It would not have been as bad as it was, is what I'm trying to say. Let's go look at open interest, but I don't care about options. I want futures mostly, because futures are a lot more liquid than options. That's options / futures. Let's go to, that's hyper, is that hyperliquid only? Yeah, so here you can see, let's tighten this up. The open interest is the blue line, right? So open interest all-time highs when we print all-time highs on price. And then you chew up all that liquidation, and then those people just, then that's when the forced selling and the liquidations really start to cascade. So we, from the high down to here, was 35% of all the open interest in Bitcoin. So we got down lower in open interest on that blue line than we did in the bear market in early 2025, right? So yeah, that was a big move. Now you can see the open interest is starting to come back. So we need to slowly see the open interest build back up. And as that happens, I believe price will slowly grind back to the upside. If the sellers keep selling, if they're feared out and they're just not coming back, then obviously Bitcoin rolls over. There's nothing anybody can do about it. But we need that money to come back. Whether it's the old people that lost the money or new people investing for the first time, it doesn't matter. It has to come back. And when it comes back, Bitcoin goes back to all-time highs. It's simple as that. We don't need to make it any more difficult, I guess. But I like it. I think it builds back up. I think people will slowly start to come back around. We'll see. Look up Iran in the early 70s. Beautiful. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going down that route. I'm just saying it's bad when it's best to have an elected government. And I know things went awry in the past, but maybe, hopefully, this new guy can actually help steer him into prosperity, right? And it could be better. Like, imagine a world where the U.S. and even, I don't even want to say the other nation, because I think the U.S. should not be funding as much as they do there too, but just imagine a world where Iran is not the enemy, where it is not funding terrorism worldwide. Like, imagine a world like that. Imagine a world where a leader of Iran says, we're not funding terrorism anymore. It's a much better place to be. Then we can fight the smaller groups. A lot easier to fight the smaller groups. The very, very small funded individual groups. They are easy to smash. Larger conglomerate stuff, that's more difficult. A lot more implications, but I hope they fix it. I hope they do. And there's only two ways I can see it being fixed. The military has got to get on the people's side. As soon as that happens, it's all over for whatever. That guy's, yeah, he's done. And he needs to get out if he wants to continue to live. I figure if they get their hands on him, it's not going to be good. You destroyed their future. I mean, damn. Not good. All right, you guys have a fantastic, we're going to wrap it up because there really isn't anything else to do. The short trade might still give an entry today on Zcash. It's the beginning of the week, so there is still time. But Bitcoin, it's flying. It's looking real good. In fact, yeah, that short trade isn't far away now. So that's what we want. We want Bitcoin to stop the shorts out, mine included. We want it moving up. I do better with the amount of Bitcoin that I own. I do much better when it's grinding to the upside. Much better. I feel richer. I am richer when Bitcoin is moving up. Of course, I can short it, but it didn't go down. That's my argument for the sellers. Like all the bears out there, my argument is this. If you guys are so strong and so sure that it's going lower, why hasn't it yet? And another thing that you can look back and see for yourself, historically speaking, we just opened a new year on Bitcoin. Go back and look with historical data how Bitcoin performs the years that it starts off good. And look how Bitcoin performs on the years when it starts off bad. We'll go look at just 2022 and then we'll wrap it up. Because 2022 is different than 2026 is. So applying a fractal to it makes no sense at all. So let's just find and mark right there is the very year open for 2022. I want you to look here real good. Bitcoin traded up the first day of January and then 4 days later lost that price. Then it went on to do bad things. Then it traded sideways for very, very many months. But in April, the Trade Talk community was bearish when it traded back up into here. And we weren't bearish because we knew it was going down. We were bearish because of what it did at the beginning of the year. So when it retraced or returned to that area, we shorted it. Look at what it's done now. Right here. This higher low is epic. It's a good sign. It's better than what it used to do or what it has done in the past. It's a very good sign that Bitcoin can start the year off bullish. What I want to see continuing in 2026 is Bitcoin to stay above $93,347. Oh, sorry, that's this one. My bad. This year open is 87,000. So any pullbacks to 87,000, I would be bullish. I would have a bullish bias. If Bitcoin loses this price and puts in that larger downtrending move to where you start smoking November's low, then it goes lower and takes out April, then we'll have a serious problem on our hands. But as long as Bitcoin is trending up away from January's opening price, that is a good sign, historically speaking. Just look at the yearly chart and you'll be able to see it. Thank you guys for being here so much. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.